Hello everyone, this is my presentation on cultural self-assessment. In my presentation, I will be looking at the African American culture versus the African Caribbean culture. I am from the African Caribbean culture, and I would like to compare this culture to the African American culture. The African American culture and the African Caribbean cultures have originated from the same ethnic heritage, and they're both of the black race, and they emerged from slavery. In comparing the African American and the African Caribbean cultures, I would like to look at the beliefs of these two cultures. From research, I recognize that these two cultures they both believe in God, they both serve a God. The African American, they are very steep in their religion. Research has shown that 92% of the African American they have some form of worship. They recognize God as the supreme. Like the African Caribbean culture, they also believe in God and they worship in a similar manner like the African Americans. However, we find in the African Caribbean culture there are some aspect of the West African traditional religion. They're involved in drumming and other practices that will be upheld presently in West Africa, in Nigeria and Ghana and other West African countries. To compare the two cultures, the African American culture and the African Caribbean culture, I look at the values and the beliefs of these two cultures. In looking at the African American culture, with regard to the value that they play on material wealth, it was recognized that the African American has a high premium on material wealth, whereas the African Caribbean they put a lesser value on material wealth. Looking at the way they look at their families, they both have strong sense of family. They both embrace communal living. In addition to that, we find that both cultures generally have matriarchal family unit where the mother or the grandmother or the female is the head of the family unit. And it is done so as to supplement and to control the family in a way because in the past they're missing fathers for many reasons, and so the mothers had to take control of the families. The African American culture and the African Caribbean culture, from my research, they are intolerant to poor behavioral conduct from their children. They instill a value of respect for elders and good conduct. Generally, we find that there is a little difference in terms of their attitude towards work. Um, it is said that the African American culture, they are more time conscious, whereas the African Caribbean cultures, they're less time conscious. Time is not really the essence. They are more or less laid back and we want to do things in their own time. In comparing these two cultures in terms of music, dance, and food, it was found that they have a little bit of similarity. However, we find with the music, they're somewhat different. The African American music mainly is jazz, the hip hop, and rap. And whereas in the Caribbean, their music, the reggae and the calypso. With regard to dance, it's somewhat a little bit different. Food is different, is a slight different, and it's because of the geographical location. So the crops and vegetables that are in the Caribbean will not be in America. And there's where we have the difference. But generally, the way in which they prepare their food, they both enjoy highly seasoned food. Here's an example of the differences in food. The African Caribbean mainly will use what they produce as their meal. Meals are prepared very simply, but highly seasoned. In looking at the differences between the African American and African Caribbean cultures in dealing with the concept of disability, research has shown that the African Caribbean culture perceives disability as an issue that can be corrected by using severe measures and also corporal punishment. Families are often in denial that their children have a disability and will refuse to have them evaluated by the relevant authority. However, with the African American cultures, they are more open with disability, they are more knowledgeable of the causes and will take advantage of the services that are available to support the individuals living with disabilities. Thank you very much for listening.